Well, the prison has been around for a very long time. It's one of the, if not the oldest, state prisons in the entire state. From my understanding, it was before 1910, so it's been over 100 years. And back then, of course, Fort Bend County population was predominantly rural and agricultural. Fast forward to about 2006, and that's when City Council decided to go ahead and see what we could do about maybe putting efforts toward relocating that prison to a better place that's suited to maybe that's not so populated, because there's been a huge amount of growth. Fort Bend County is one of the fastest growing counties in the entire state and nation, and now there's a lot of development that's around that prison. In fact, there were just thousands of acres that were devoted to the Central Prison Unit and the farming community for the Central Unit. And since then, the state has sold much of that property, so therefore you're now only remaining is just the Central Prison itself, as more and more development has utilized that old prison property to develop. The Central Prison Unit as it is now, it's actually, in fact, the airport runway traverses the two different parcels of the prison property. It is wholly contained within the city limits. The council has zoned it to accommodate a future business park and airport-related facilities. Our current Sugarland Business Park is reaching its limit as far as almost full, so this is a great economic development tool. Our measures so far since 2006 to actually get the legislature to move toward this. In 2007, we were successful in having the legislature mandate the TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, to perform a feasibility study. And we worked with the TDCJ to go ahead and allow not just the standpoint from the prison, but how it works for economic development once this prison was developed as a business park. It actually showed there was quite a bit of gain for the local governments as well as the state with the closure of this prison and development for airport-related facilities and a business park. I think the numbers were somewhere upwards of maybe close to $1 million a year in revenue for government to provide services to our residents, and close to $5 million, between $4 and $5 million to the state and enhanced revenue to their budget. We've had ongoing conversation with our local state leaders as well as local elected officials, and trying to include TDCJ and working with them as closely as we could, so we didn't want to catch them by surprise what we were trying to do. They have a prison to run, but we want them to feel as if though we're partners in a way, as far as, after all, their prisoners are our residents. So we've been working very closely and talking to them on a regular basis. And Brad Livingston, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the executive director, has told us that of the 112 prisons statewide, this is one prison where you have the endorsement for the most part of all your state elected leaders in the area, as well as your locally elected leaders, to close the prison, where a lot of communities want to keep their prisons open because that is their economic development. It has obviously worked to our advantage, but we've also put the seeds in progress where it didn't happen overnight, and it wouldn't have happened possibly by itself.